What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, owner, and founder of Vicktory Life, Dwight Vick. And today I got another great guest. We always keep great guests on this show up and running. We have Courtney Davis, one of my favorite players at Patriot High School. Now on this show is going to tell us a lot about his journey, a unique journey, a lot of peaks and valleys. But Courtney, first off, how you doing, man?
Good at yourself.
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you. You look great in that black and gold. Um, I this has been a long time coming. I would see you around here, open gyms, coming back home. You would come back, you and Trey and everybody would come back and watch the current team, which is now the past team play. And then we finally said, okay, look, I want to link up and get you on the show and talk about, your story. Because not everybody knows your story, man. And how much your game has evolved and how well you're doing. So before we talk about like your commitment to Bloomsburg University,
Yeah,
congratulations on that.
appreciate it.
I'm happy for you because it's been a long time coming. But let's take it back. I remember sitting in the banquet and your mom and dad were up there, the seniors at Patriot High School that year. You helped lead Patriot to a 26-1 record, and your dad got up there and talked about how this is all unique for him because you were a really good football player. And
Yeah,
I'm sitting in the cafeteria. I'm like, wait, what? I
yeah,
heard it. I had heard, but then everybody was like, nah, man, like, yo, Courtney could boogie. He could play.
yeah,
Talk about that, your youth, like playing football. I had no idea that you did that.
yeah. Nah, I played football all the way up to moving up here to Virginia. So I never played basketball until like sixth grade. So I always played football and track all my whole life until I got up to Virginia. So
Yeah, and you guys came from Maryland. Was it Baltimore?
yeah, we came from Baltimore.
All right, now you Baltimore, like we talking about what Marlow and the Wire, Baltimore, or Baltimore
Nah,
County.
we was like in like near Towson, so it wasn't like
Oh,
really
okay.
crazy. Yeah,
Hey, Townsend ain't sweet either. I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
I've been I've been out there a lot. Yeah,
It
nah.
wasn't
Was
like
it? Go
Lock
ahead.
Raven on Lock Raven. So
Okay. Yeah. Was it weird coming from the Bmore area to Virginia,
yeah,
Northern Virginia?
yeah, it's a little different because like obviously it's a bunch of more like black people out there than coming out here where it's like a little bit more cult, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, yeah, it is. This is the suburbs, and
yeah,
I
and
know.
the school is way better in Virginia too. So that was a big difference as well.
Yeah. Now, what did you play in football? Were you
I play
what?
quarterback and corner.
I can see you playing corner. Let's
Yeah,
talk about you playing QB. You know who my peoples are. So
yeah.
I've seen one of the best. But like, how were you? How you stack up? Like, how were you as a quarterback?
I was tough. Like a bunch of
Really?
like you see like a bunch of people in my comments. It's like a bunch of my dad's friends saying like only if you were still playing football. So they already know like I was tough. So
Yeah. No, I believe it, man. Because you were tough on the court, man. You had that attitude, that chip. We're gonna talk about that a little later, but
yeah,
it's funny how some of these guys can play football. It's a big debate right now that Austin Rivers started about football and basketball. Me and your homie Isaiah, aka Zay, we've been going back and forth about it. I don't really mind. I think they're great athletes on both. You proved that, and other guys have as well.
yeah,
Um, when you got here, man, you got to Northern Virginia. You moved down here. The schools were better. You have a
yeah.
great support system with your parents, but at the same time, it's still new. So talk about that transition. How was it?
I mean everything was new and like I was or like my dad was saying at the banquet. I probably wouldn't start playing basketball if it wasn't for Coach Marshall. So Coach Marshall played a big role. I used to play with his son Brock Marshall. So he used to tell me to come to the little tryouts they had, and Coach Marshall ended up having trust in me, and that's where I started playing basketball from there. So it was a big transition playing basketball from football. So I never really played when I was in Baltimore, so I just used that aggression I had on the football field, and that's why I take so much pride in defense. So that was the
Yeah,
main.
you did. You
Yeah,
did. Yeah. You know, when you talk about that attitude coming from the Bmore area, you brought it down here to when you moved down here.
yeah,
Um, how was it as far as people reacted to you? Like, because football is I played it. You already know my story. I mean, I played at a high level, man. I was a very good player, but that was eon years ago. But I do know even now or back then or whatever the time period, footballs are very physical. I always tell people like football players a little bit off. They built different.
Yeah.
They're built different. I mean, basketball has I think takes a little bit more skill. So
Mm,
football players have to kind of, as my coach Frank Bimmer said, have to have controlled recklessness,
yeah.
but intelligent recklessness, as he said. So how would you describe yourself as a player? Like, how were you? I know you said you told the rock and you were a quarterback and you could throw it, but at the
Yeah.
same time,
So I
how
was doing
were you?
so I was doing track, so I was very like I've always been athletic. So I was able to run out the pocket, throw the ball, probably sling it like 40 yards at the age of 11. Like I was really just doing it all. And then my like competitiveness, I think it all came from my dad. So my dad always preached me like not losing and just being competitive all the time. So that's where my competitiveness come from for sure. So
That's a great segue because I was going to ask you about your parents, man.
yeah.
First of all, the photo shoot game is insane.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll get to that just in 1 second because I want to ask about the photo shoots and the because I got really close with your parents the year
Yeah. Yeah.
Isaiah played with you his sophomore year. COVID, we weren't around each other that freshman year, but your dad and you mentioned him being an athlete, man. Talk about his influence and him being an athlete. Um,
Uh, well, he has him and his seven other siblings. They all play sports. So
seven.
yeah, he got seven siblings. Yeah. So they all played sports growing up, and then they down south. So like down south they really big on football,
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
football, track, all that. So that's where the competitive side comes from. And then just having like my uncles and my aunts always on my side pushing me. And then my mom's side too, like my mom played sports growing up, and then my aunt played sports growing up. So just having that support from them and always pushing me from a younger age, that was a big help.
What's your mom? What sports your mom play?
My mom, she like played like basketball, soccer, tennis. She was just playing anything. She
Dang.
wasn't really good, but she was like you can say she played.
Oh man.
Her my dad always used to joke like my freshman year after the little write ups I get, or not my freshman year, my senior year after the write ups and stuff. She'd be like in the group chat, "I taught you well," and my dad just start laughing like she ain't really like that, but yeah.
So when did it happen? What middle school did you go to, and when did it happen? I know you played basketball late compared to some of your other peers and guys you hoop with, but when what happened as far as football? Like, was that the trajectory you were on? Like middle school, what middle school did you go to?
Yeah,
Like,
I went to Gainesville High School or Gainesville Middle School, and I ended up getting cut my freshman year or my what is it sixth grade year. Ended up getting cut from basketball and football. So
what?
yeah, yeah, like people don't really know,
Wow.
but yeah, I ended up getting
I didn't know that. I didn't you got
yeah,
cut?
yeah, I got cut,
Wow, man.
and
So
I
how'd
think
you
I
were
think I
mad?
ended up getting I think I ended up getting cut my seventh grade year for football, and I ended up making the team for my basketball season, but.
Yeah.
I feel like football down in Virginia was like more politics. So like the coach's son's playing quarterback, and I just wasn't with it. So I ended
Yeah.
up falling in love with basketball because like you really on your own path. So
So hold on, slow down a little bit because I don't know I didn't mean to cut you off.
how you
You
doing?
got cut in sixth and seventh grade
On football, yeah,
in football. And that's around the time I remember those teams. That's when they were really, really loaded. That's when
yeah,
Gainesville, they were really good.
yeah.
Like loaded teams. I mean, they're good now, but those years they were like a lot of guys went on to Patriot and some of them
Mm.
are in playing college now. But you got cut both those years. Were you mad? I don't know if you heard my question. Were you mad?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little upset because I was playing football my whole life, and then it was just different for me. So I was obviously upset, but couldn't really do nothing about it but work. But that's why I thank my parents so much because they always kept me pushing, even though I ain't made the team. So
What was that conversation like when you came home? Because you're talking about and what part of the South are your parents from? Your dad?
my mom's from Baltimore and then my dad's from Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama. I knew that. Your dad's from Alabama. That's right. So how was that conversation with both of them when you came home, especially the second time? Well, I mean, like honestly, what was it like?
I mean, the second time was just a lot of emotions for me. And then my mom is a lot of emotions. And then my dad, he was just shocked. Like He came to some of the tryouts and he was just like, "There's no way I ain't made the team." But at the end of the day, he just said, "Keep pushing. We'll do the little travel football and stuff." And then that didn't end up working out. The coach's sons was playing in front of me, but so after that, I just didn't really fall in love with it no more.
You know what's so funny, and I know this is your legacy spotlight, but it's so funny because I was talking with Isaiah about that, man. We were talking about youth sports, football and basketball, and it's that's politics is everywhere, even in corporate America and college as well. But
Yeah,
your stories are similar in the fact that Isaiah was a dynamic football player before he really got into basketball. He played both. He also ran track, went to the Junior Olympics, but I
yeah,
remember around that same time in middle school, that's when he came and told his mother and I that he was going to fall back and just focus on hooping
hmm
because of the politics you experienced, not so much at Gainesville Middle, but in youth sports. And he played on some really good youth teams, but they would move him around a lot and he just felt some kind of way. He
hmm
never said it, but we knew it. Then, we talked about it recently. So, but then again, look how it turned out for you and him and other guys like that. You
yeah,
chose
yeah,
basketball. And that's when you met my homie,
yeah.
Coach
That's
DJ
my
Mayo.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
my
my
guy.
dude too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah. He used to call you root beer because you used to cramp up at
yeah,
the Patriot games during the
yeah.
high school games. He called you root beer. But talk
Yeah.
about games because Gainesville basketball. I'm gonna get DJ on here soon because
Mhm.
me and him talk a lot during the games and text, and we talk about that Gainesville middle school legacy of so many great players like yourself, what Nick and
Big Mike,
Mike and
Ty,
Isaiah Abraham.
Ty
Yeah.
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of guys, man. How was it to play for him, man? I mean, I know
No,
it's
it
middle
was
school
good.
ball, but how was it?
It was good playing for Coach DJ. He believed in me a lot, and I started my seventh grade year. I didn't really play much my eighth grade year because like JV coaches don't transfer to the varsity coaches, so I didn't really play my eighth grade year. But I wasn't really tripping because I had AAU, and we already had like been plugged in with Coach Rivers at Patriot because of AAU, because Coach Marshall's son Drake, he was like one of the best players coming to Patriot, like a real good player. So
Yeah, yeah, he was.
yeah, so we already had plugged in with Coach Rivers, so that's how it
Yeah.
went.
Talk about Coach Marshall. You mentioned him earlier as we started this show, and I know him, and he's had a positive influence on a lot of basketball players, man.
Yeah,
Just just spend a few minutes talking about his impact and how he is as a coach, a leader, and your thoughts on him.
yeah, he probably made the biggest impact because, like I told you, like if it wasn't for Coach Marshall, I probably wouldn't be playing basketball. So he still came. He was still coming to all my high school games. He came to a few of my games for JUCO. Like he came in person one time, and then he was watching online for a few of them. And he always sent me texts after the game, tell me what I need to work on, tell me he's proud of me. We would take pictures after the game, so he made a real big impact. So
Yeah, man. That's good, man. We need that because sometimes it's rough. And just hearing your story, even though some of this I knew, a lot of it I didn't. You getting cut, and then dealing with coaches, the politics. You go from playing your seventh grade year, and then your
yeah,
eighth grade year, you're not playing that much, but you were playing AAU on a very
yeah,
good what's playmakers, right?
yeah. I didn't play with
Yeah.
playmakers until my last year at AAU. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so you played on a very good program, but then you talked about being plugged in with Sherman Rivers, my guy. How was
yeah,
it when you first met Sherman? Did you meet him in middle school like most of y'all do, or did you meet him
yeah, yeah.
your
I
freshman
met
year?
him in like seventh grade, I think.
So what was your first impression of him?
I mean, we went to. I think we went to a practice, and I was like, yeah, he kind of crazy. Like he coach hard, but I knew I was gonna like Coach Rivers down the line because he always like taught competitiveness, and that's what I was looking for in the school. So
Yeah, no, yeah, he definitely, you guys were competitive, man. So you go through all of that and you go into Patriot. And again, you're going to a program not so much similar to Gainesville where there's a lot of talent, but you're going to a program where there's expectations and there are a lot of kids because that Gainesville, Marstella area, there's a lot of kids that
yeah,
play both sports, but there's a lot of great basketball players in Prince William, like other jurisdictions. You can apply to the academy or to the specialty program and get in. So Patriot at the time starting to build, and there was a lot of good. You came in with a really good group.
yeah.
How was it when you first got there, and what happened?
When I first got there, I played on the freshman team, so I didn't play JV as a freshman or none of that. So I was just doing my role, And sophomore year, I played JV. I feel like I got a little better, but I didn't really feel like I made any improvements. And then my junior year, that's when the COVID year hit. So it was a little confusing. I didn't really play as much. It was a little spurt during the season where I played because like I was locking dudes up, just playing my role, you feel me? And then my senior year, that's where I really like feel like I took off.
Yeah, you did. We'll get to those two, the junior and senior year in a
Yeah.
second, but you talking about like your freshman year playing freshman. Was that humbling? Because your generation is a little bit different from me and Coach Rivers, where we understand, like, okay, I may have to play JV. I can get cut, even if I'm a good player, because you have to kind of earn your stripes. With you guys have social media and you have trainers. A lot of kids coming to high school, even at schools like Patriot, thinking, okay, I'm gonna make varsity, or I'm gonna get minutes. Was that hard? Like, was it weird? I mean, because at that time you kind of started scaling it back from football and
Yeah.
buying more into basketball. You started buying more into basketball. Was it humbling being on the freshman team, where you were like, all right, I'm gonna rock with it?
Nah, I mean, I never settled for just like the bare minimum. Like I knew everybody can make freshmen. So I was obviously a little disappointed and knew I had to work on more stuff. Like growing up, I wasn't the best of a shooter. And like even through my senior year, I wasn't. But I knew I had to work on more stuff to be on JV. And in my JV season, playing JV as a sophomore, I knew I had to work on a lot to be on varsity. So it was definitely like humbling, but I was never like settled with just being on freshman and JV my sophomore year. So
And you said you didn't. Your game had not evolved yet.
yeah,
Honest answer. Like, were you lazy in regards to taking those? Like your homie, you type with Trey Nelson. He
yeah,
is a scorer. He's been a bucket since the first time I saw him.
yeah,
Were you one of those things where, like, I'm gonna work on my skill set and be athletic, and rely on my athleticism and play defense and not work on my offense? Did you take shortcuts, or is it something nobody really told you to do? Like, what
yeah,
happened with that? Because you said early on you really didn't. Your game had not elevated.
yeah. I just grew into my role of playing defense. That's what it was. And then I didn't really have the confidence on offense that I have now. So that's why my numbers grew over time.
Mm. And you
Yeah,
mentioned that year, COVID. Um, that was a weird year.
yeah,
Even when I look back at old pictures, you guys playing with masks on, and
yeah.
you only played like 14 games total. You guys lost to Potomac, that went on to play against Centerville in the state championship.
Mm,
And that was the first year in forever where the runner-up didn't go to the regionals. I mean, to the states.
yeah.
Only they went. What do you remember about that year? How did COVID and I mean, what do you remember about that season? That's a really I always think about that season being weird.
Yeah, I mean it was
What you
it was weird. I felt bad for like the seniors because like they didn't really get a senior year, like an actual senior year. So I really felt bad for them. But also I was learning from guys like Chase or not Chase, Trey and Chad, like seeing what role I had to fill for the next year, and even Ellis. I played more of his role doing
Oh
all the
yeah,
dirt.
Ellis, yeah.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
guys in front of me that I had to learn from. Even though if I wasn't playing as much, I just knew I had to what I had to do for my senior year to play.
What do you mean you learn from that? What do you mean? Elaborate on that. You say you learn from it. What do you mean? You learn like how to attack the practices and work
Yeah,
ethic, or just like what it takes to be great. What did you learn from? Because those are some great players.
yeah. I mean, Trey and Chad, they was all leaders, and Ellis. So just having that leading role my senior year, I really learned that from them. And
Mhm.
then just skill wise and what Coach Rivers wanted on defense, what he wanted on offense, like what role he wanted me to play, learned that all for them. So Coach Rivers was really a good coach when it comes to like playing your role. And he knows what spots to put certain players in so they can be successful. So playing that
Yeah,
role. Yeah.
you did it, man. And I remember you when after the COVID year. Let's talk about a historic season for Patriot, because at this time, my son is a sophomore. He's starting with you,
Yeah.
and he's been thrust into the starting lineup. He earned it, but it helped that DJ transferred to a private school. I believe it was
Yeah.
Fairfax Christian, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden, Trey Nelson hits up Zay and says, "Hey, you're gonna have to have to put in that work, And then Coach Rivers hit him up too. And then all of a sudden, I see you guys in the fall league and the summer league, and it's so weird, man, because this is what Sherman and his coaches said, and I saw the same thing. I was like, man, we might not be that great. We might be all right because
Yeah.
this is during the time when Battlefield was loaded,
Mm.
John Champ was loaded.
Yeah.
Unity Reed had some players. The district was tough. Right now, it's trash can juice, but back then,
Yeah.
they were really good. Like it was a deep district.
Yeah.
I believe at one time it was 4 teams ranked top 10 in the state.
Yeah.
But in that fall summer league, everyone hadn't taken on their role. And then you blink, and all of a sudden you win this game, you win that game, then you 9-0, 10-0. Then you
Yeah.
wake up and you 26-0.
Yeah.
But before we get to the playoffs and the undefeated season, what do you think happened? I've never asked anybody on this team this. You're the first person to ask this. I talked to the coaches. Um, what happened that year where it all worked out? Like, did you guys like in group chat say, "Yo, we can really run the table," or is it just everybody embrace their role? What happened?
Yeah. I think it was really just everybody embracing their role. And like we didn't really talk about it in like group chats or nothing, but me even like personally, I didn't think we was gonna be 26-0, but I knew we was gonna be decent and be good. But a funny story is like Nasir's dad, Ma,
Oh,
he used to talk to me all the time during like the little after the fall league games and stuff. He'd be like, "Man, y'all suck. Y'all gonna be trash." And like he'll tell me straight up. I'd be like, "Bro, Big Bro, you tripping? Like we gonna be like that." And he never believed me. And he talk about that story all the time. Like it actually happened. Like after one, I think we got beat by like 21 games or somebody. It was like a terrible team. And this was like Sherm, he was on us, like, man, y'all gonna be terrible. Like, but like I feel like we took all that in. It was just like we got something to prove, especially like me, Nick, and Mike being seniors and like being a part of that, being behind like Trey and Chad and all those guys, like all of our lives at Patriot. So really looking forward to like going off our senior year. And then after that COVID year, it was terrible. So I feel like we had a chip on our shoulder.
as you described Nasir's dad, Maul, and that's my homie too. I can hear him talking.
Yeah,
As soon as you said y'all, that sound, I can hear him talk. I can see it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but at the time, man, y'all weren't a great team, but I think that's the beauty in any basketball program that has championship aspirations. You guys morphed into what you needed to be.
yeah,
Um, that season was great, man, because it was not only a historic season for Patriot, still remains one of the best basketball teams. You guys didn't win states, but still one of the best basketball teams in Prince William County history. But I
yeah,
remember it was like the first year when all of a sudden the crowds, you guys had a lot of sellout games. You had that Potomac game for the
yeah,
regional semifinal to get to regional championship in order to earn a state bid. That was sold out. There were people all in the parking lot. The Battlefield games. That was my first introduction to the Battlefield rivalry. And
yeah,
I was like, bro, this is insane. And John Champ, you were on the team. You helped get the first ever win at John Champ when Mike
yeah,
Ackerman hit that three late in the game that sealed it. There
yeah,
were a lot of great moments. I mean, that to this day, man, that and I've been around the program for years now, but that was still one of my favorite seasons. I want to ask you a question. And this one I knew you were a dog, and when I found out you played football, I said this makes sense because I used to watch you. Number one, I love watching you play defense because
yeah,
in today's generation, you got some guys out here on the pro and high school and collegiate level that play it, but then you really embraced it. But the
yeah,
one thing I knew that you were a little off that I knew when I found out you had a football background is not only were you aggressive and you played defense, you talked. I
yeah,
mentioned Battlefield. You took on the Den. You were talking. I remember that one time y'all beat them, and you and Nasir start doing the gritty, the dancing, and you were
yeah,
waving by, and they were
yeah,
saying some choice words to you, and you were like, "Paid to you." You didn't even care. Do you take on? Do you snap? Do you like? Some guys have an alter ego. Some guys just stay themselves. When you get on the court, like a football player, do you kind of
mhm,
snap into an alter ego? Do you go into a place like I'm really trying to lock this person up, and I
yeah,
don't care who you are. I have no friends except my brothers here. Like I'm talking like I'm playing, but what was your mindset? Because you had a different. Like right now, you real chill, you laugh, you smiling. You know what I'm saying? But I know you. I've seen you play.
yeah.
What
Nah,
happens?
I don't know. Like once I step on the court, it's just like whoever's in front of me, I gotta beat that person out. So I don't know. Like that battlefield rival, they always talk trash. They call you names. I remember one time, me and Dez was walking to the locker room. They calling us racial slurs, all types of stuff.
Yep.
So all that build up, and then when you win at the end of the game, it's just like you let it all out. So I know talking John Champ, like they talked a lot of
Uh,
trash.
they do too.
Yeah, but I don't think any of the coaches in the district really liked me, and that's like number one reason because I talk so much trash. But they had to respect me because I played so much like defense and played my role. So I did whatever it took to win. So I feel like talking trash, you just gotta keep it basketball and keep it like keep it respectful. But
Oh yeah, no, no, yeah. Well, you already know my history with that. I don't play that, but that's for a different podcast. It's funny, man, but that's actually, you'll see, and you already know. I mean, the longer you play basketball, even in the pros, I mean, it's a time now, and it's been like this for a long time where fans will, that's a rivalry game, and I'm sure people probably feel like Patriot Red Nation has said some stuff. It is what it is. The great thing I think about what you did when you played, you embraced it. You had no problem being a villain, and I
yeah,
think being a villain and being that dog for a team is not a negative.
mm,
It's not a bad thing. Like you were able to really embrace that, and I loved it. Like because I didn't know you. I knew Isaiah and them knew you, but I used to watch. I watched you during the games, and it was fun to watch because like you really taking charges, getting steals, chest bumping. Your teammates, and then like I seen you a few times talk to the coaches, talking
yeah,
to. Yo, this dude, who is this dude? And I started asking Isaiah about you. He was like, yeah, Courtney. And I said, yo, how was practices? Because, practices must have been intense too, because you got you,
it was the same
Nasir.
thing. Yeah,
Nasir's, he comes from that kind of cloth. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? You got him. Nick might look like he chill, but I know Nick. I seen Nick,
Nah,
how
yeah.
was it? Like,
Me and Nick used to go at it. Like me and Nick, it'd be times where me and Nick almost fight during practice. Same thing with Nasir. Mike, you can't really get mad at Mike. So Mike didn't really
yeah.
have all that in him. But guys like Caden try to fight people in practice, like talk trash.
Aiden?
Yeah. Even Caden now, like he talk trash. Like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
messed around and instigated that one time at the St. James. I didn't, and I was like, yo, who's better now? You were like, yo, Yo, please, bro. And Kaden was like, what? And I said, oh, y'all really about to go at it. You were like, we
yeah.
can go on the court right now because the games are over. I think that's great though, man. Iron sharpens iron or whatever, man.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that's what made us better too. Like we always push each other in practice. Even Caden, he started picking up more minutes during the season. That was probably because of like how competitive he was in practice. Like he played a real big role sometimes. So and then
you know,
his senior year he exploded. So
and we're gonna touch on Caden because you're
yeah,
doing a great job helping me with my questions, segueing into topics because you talk about Caden, he became the next Courtney.
yeah,
That's what everybody said. Like, and the crazy thing about it is, like you, which I find very impressive, you both you and Caden waited.
mm,
You easily, either one of you could have transferred to Unity Reed. And that's not taking shots at Unity Reed or Osborne Park, but
yeah,
you know how it is in today's game, man. It's easy to transfer and you can go somewhere and average 18 points a game and get all region, all district. But you and Caden both waited. And you look at a guy like Caden, man. Talk a little bit about Caden, man, because I both of y'all, and I talk to Sherm all the time. Everybody knows we're tight, and we talk about a lot of y'all. And I saw Caden and Jay Randall at Lifetime Gym where I work out at. And I text Sherm, I said, man, two of your players, Caden and Courtney, I just think you talk about their game evolving and the work they put in. It's crazy because both of y'all only started that 1 year, your senior years, but the impact was huge.
yeah,
McCaden had over 100 and some steals. You became one of the best defensive guards in the state. And
yeah,
Caden took on that same role because the opening game, that tough loss to Hayfield, I mean, he had like what, 15, 17, 19 points or something like that.
yeah.
And even the Hayfield coach was like, yo, who is this guy? Um, I'm just gonna, talk about Caden for a second, man. Like, that's your dog, that's your brother, man. But like, what do you when you think about him, what comes to mind?
Like after watching that Hayfield game, I ain't really expect it. But that's the same thing everybody said for me. Like they didn't really expect no one really knew me. No one really expected me to do the things. So like people were saying, oh, Caden's the next Courtney and all that. I was like, nah, you gotta give Caden his flowers. Like Caden's the next Caden. Like I don't really believe in calling people other people, you know what I'm saying? Like Caden did his thing. I feel like he played his own role. He did some of the stuff I did, but he did a real good job. And no one really expected it. He played that underdog role. Like he didn't, like you said, he didn't start till his senior year just like me, but he
Hmm.
did what he had to do to lead them to the state championship. So I was real proud of him and all the other guys. Dez, Isaiah, Jay, Nasir, all them guys.
Yeah,
And
well, y'all set the tone. Y'all set the tone. You kept the expectations going. Funny thing about Kate, I remember his junior year though. It was a game at Gainesville. The guards didn't really have it going, and Sherman put him in, and he came in and hit two threes and grabbed
yeah,
six rebounds. And I was like, I remember sitting there, I was like, yo, who is this dude? Because that's when we had Nick and Mike and Nasir.
yeah,
Caden came in, they weren't, those guys weren't playing great. And Caden came in and the tone of the game changed, and Patriot ended up pulling away by a lot. And I'm like, and I asked Isaiah and Sherman on them. They were like, oh, yeah, he's good. We got a lot. You got to wait,
yeah,
and it was worth the wait.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I want to go back to something though. I want to go back to that senior year because it's tough. Because I remember to this day, man, I don't only watch that game. You guys were 26-0, and Hayfield was 31-0.
Yeah.
And everybody in the DMV, and especially in the state of Virginia, was counting down, hoping you guys could match up with them. And Battlefield, spoiled the party. It was
Yeah.
tough. People said it was unfair to play five times. It is what it is. You
Mm,
guys were in control of that game, but then the youngin hits a corner three, and Nasir comes down, and they storm the court. It was tough. It was tough, man, and emotions were high. I saw you and a lot of guys had to be restrained, and believe me, I was mad too because I even went up. I had to go say something to security because some of their fans and players came to our side, but it was talking going on both sides. That to me is the best rivalry in the state, especially when both teams are really good.
yeah.
But when you think about that, man, in life you're going to have step backs and mishaps and tough life lessons. But when you think about that loss and what could have been, I always ask this question to players and coaches. We could talk about some of your high moments and when you had 16 points in the playoff game. I remember in the playoffs you started scoring and hitting threes and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, but it's easy to talk about your high points. When you look back at that tough loss, man, what do you remember about and what you learned from it? Because that's what I like asking. What did you learn from that night?
Um, I mean, the main thing I would say is like you gotta keep your composure for real, for real. Like the way I acted after the game, I wasn't really a big fan of it because you gotta remember like everybody's watching, so like but everybody understood the frustration there. Everybody found out the story of what happened, why I acted like that. And another thing is I feel like I could have played a bigger role. And I don't know, I feel like we played laid back that game. But at the same time, when you play a team five times, it's not easy to beat them. So we
Yeah.
didn't go in there thinking like, yeah, we about to kill this team. Like we went in there thinking like we gotta win this game to go to states. So we didn't play it easy, but I feel like we could have played all bigger roles. So
And you mentioned you were going through something or something was happening. I don't know. Is that something you mind sharing? You don't have to go into detail if you don't want to. Was it just something, with the fans or something personal?
it was just I'm not gonna say what the players said, but after the game was over and they won, one of the players that already had beef with me came over and said something, called me out my name, and I ain't respect it. But everybody knew that. And then after the game, like I think it was a day later, someone from Battlefield ended up messaging my dad, and that was going all over the
I heard
place.
about that. I heard about
Yeah,
that.
it was a lot of stuff. And that's what I was talking about when you talk trash, like just keep it respectful. Like I feel like we as Patriot and Red Nation, we always kept it respectful. Never brought anybody's parents in, never called no one racial slurs. Like we kept it respectful, but we talk trash. And that's like the thing I loved about that senior year. So
Yeah, man, and good for you for keeping it respectful, man. As far as basketball trash talking, because
mm,
the following year, Isaiah had that big. He always played his best against them, and
yeah,
all of a sudden
I heard something happened during
oh
that
yeah.
too.
But I
Yeah,
spoke up about it, because again,
yeah,
I spoke up about it, and I'm gonna keep speaking up about it because it's not just them; it's anybody. It's interesting, man, because they read all that stuff and you make you sign all this stuff, and they talk about code of conduct after we do the national anthem.
yeah,
But ADs, police officers, and principals have to make sure they follow through with it, man. Because I can tell you this right now, I'm from the 757,
yeah,
and you talk reckless down there. And again, I'm not proud of it. I'm not even bragging about violence. I'm just saying, like, you got to be careful because eventually that was my whole point. Because when you talk about again my family and other people, and you make it personal and it gets derogatory, everybody's not going to turn the other cheek.
yeah.
You know what I'm
No,
saying? So, but at the same time, man, it remains a great rivalry game. I always, wondered how you felt about that because I saw you being held back, and I saw the emotions running high. I was, I was in disbelief, man, because respectful. I think Coach Bills is a great coach. He's one
yeah,
of my favorite coaches in the region, and in the state. I think they got a great basketball program.
mm,
I just thought that's year y'all were the better team. I mean, Chase had that chance to win the shot in that first matchup, and then all of a sudden after that, y'all kind of controlled. Y'all beat him. I mean, y'all beat him at senior night,
mm,
and then y'all beat him that one time in the district tournament championship and the regional championship. I mean, it was like, oh, okay. And maybe you said y'all kind of played laid back. That's tough because y'all were 4-0 against them.
yeah,
Um, but I will say this: I had Hassan Ahmad on a few weeks ago, and
mm,
I'm a big fan of him, and he respects y'all, and he
yeah,
talks about the rivalry and all of that. So sometimes one bad apple can make it seem like the whole batch is bad, but at the
yeah,
same time, when I talk to different guys on both sides, it's respectable and it's
yeah,
a high level of respect for both from both players and teams. Even guys like yourself who's going on and graduate. So you graduate, you guys fall short, you go 26-1. Had to watch Hayfield put up the trophy. Shout out to Hayfield, Carlos, and those guys. And then all of a sudden, Nick, Mike, you guys graduate.
yeah,
And a lot of times, in student athletes, it's like, what's the next move? Did you
yeah,
know your next move? Like, I mean, because it's funny how sports happens. It's like an abrupt ending. And if
mm.
you're not prepared or have a plan, you're kind of like, okay, I may look at this, I may look at that. Um, what what was that like? I mean, how'd because you ended up going to a school up north, and then you
Yeah.
got in the portal.
I went to Bryan and Stratton in Rochester. It was a JUCO. So,
Yeah.
but I was originally coming out of high school. I was originally committed to Shenandoah. So I had
Mm-hmm.
the signing day and everything for that. But the coach ended up getting fired that recruited me. And because I started getting recruited right after that. I think it was the Potomac game. So that's when I ended up picking up two offers from two D3s. And that's who believed in me and that's who was recruiting me. And then the coach got fired, a new coach came in, and I ended up staying committed because he knew Coach Rivers, and Coach Rivers said it was a good decision to make. And I don't blame Coach Rivers for what happened at all because Coach Rivers didn't know that that coach was the guy he ended up turning into be. So going through the summer, I got a call, and the new Shenandoah coach was like, yeah, when you guys get here, it's gonna be a tryout.
Oh
And
yeah.
so Coach Rivers was hot. Coach Artie was hot. Like they said, you can't. Basically, he's saying you can't ever recruit a kid from Patriot again. Like it was a lot. And luckily, I had a bunch of supportive people around me. One being my parents, one like being my family, my friends, and then a few other people outside of those people that just kept me pushing and just like never let me quit. So ended
Yeah.
up Brian and Stratton after that.
And then you ended up, and next thing I know, I'm looking. I keep up with you and Trey and a lot of guys, even guys that Battlefield and Unity Read. I know so many. I'm fans of players.
Mhm.
So I try to keep up. Next thing I know, I see you hooping at Nova.
Yeah, myself.
And yeah, how did you end up there?
So I had a bunch of like D3 schools just reaching out to me after my first year at JUCO, and the whole plan was for me to go to that JUCO and then transfer out. So I had a good year, but we wasn't really getting no help from my coach, and it just ended up working out. And we wasn't really trying to pay that much money for D3. You feel me? But you don't get no
Hmm.
scholarship at all. So then at that point, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep playing no more. But then I also had my mom and dad saying like, you gotta keep playing. Like you can't just give up now. And then just talking to God and just keep pushing. You feel me? And then Coach Nick, he actually brought up the idea of playing at Nova, saying he knew Coach Mike and it wouldn't be a bad idea. But me looking at Nova, it was like, man, you play at Nova, everybody gonna think you just, terrible. So I just bet on myself, went to play at Nova, and then had the outcome that I had.
It's interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I forgot they hooped at Nova, but my
Yeah,
recollection of Nova hoops was cats, got in trouble at Woodbridge Senior High School or
yeah,
Stonewall or some or Patriot, and they were like, yo, I'm gonna hoop for Nova. And then after the game, go hit a vape card or something. I ain't I ain't think it was. And next thing you know, I'm looking on Twitter, now X, and then I'm seeing you like all in. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, and so I'm retweeting your stuff and I'm sharing it. I'm like, man. But then again, I'm not gonna lie to you, Courtney, my God. And I was like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Cause I just, you already know what's seeing with Isaiah's situation. He's been reached out by tons of D1s and D2s. And next thing you know, that coach leaves, goes to this school, gets fired, or doesn't talk to him no more because he's taking this guy.
yeah.
Basketball is hard compared to football to get a scholarship.
It's not easy.
It's not easy at all. And football is like, okay, yeah, we got you. So I'm looking at you at Nova, and I'm like, man, he really did bet on himself, man. Was it hard? Like, or was it like I'm having fun playing? Like, I don't know. Like, what was your mindset? Because it's not like you playing where you're going ready to go here later this year at Bloomsburg. It's not like that.
Yeah,
It's Nova.
yeah.
How was it?
I mean, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I ain't really think I was gonna get nothing out of it. But I was playing to like, keep my family proud and just keep myself active and playing something that I love. I'm not gonna say I didn't love it, because I obviously love basketball and have a love for the game. But it was definitely different because there's no dorm, so I had to drive 40 minutes to practice every day. Practice would be at 8 o'clock. We wouldn't get out to like 10 o'clock, 10:30. So I wouldn't get home until like 11:30. So that was definitely different. And then staying at home, it was a bunch of distractions. So
Mm.
my first semester, I didn't really have a good first semester. I didn't play that good. You can look at my numbers. I think I was averaging like 8 points a game. My assist to turnover ratio was pretty bad. Like I was just having a bad first semester, and that was because of distractions and um people telling me like get off the distractions. And I'm not going to name the specific distractions, but
You ain't got to name him. You ain't got to name him, bro.
yeah, people got an idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But nah, second semester I definitely had a better second semester. I gave up the distractions, started focusing more on basketball and school, so my numbers went up a lot. Like first semester or second semester, I think I started off just averaging. I think I had like 13 the first game, and then I started going 20, 23, 24. And then obviously that PG County game, I had 35. Like,
35. I was going to say.
so after that game, recruitment started picking up a lot. Like
Sure did.
school was waiting for me to be done with the season and start coming out to visit. So the recruiting process out of high school and the recruiting process out of this past year was way different. It was like way more fun.
Well, first of all, I ain't gonna lie to you because you my guy. I keep saying that because we
Yeah.
keep it real on Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm holding my phone because, I'm always on social media, pushing Vicktory Life, episodes and just checking to see who's hooping, who's playing football, and just keeping up with everything, politics, trends. And I'm looking on X at the time, Twitter, and I'm like, hold on, man. Courtney, 25. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hold on. Wait, did I see? I'm like, wait a minute, man. Hold on now, 35? So I'm
Yeah.
retweeting it. And I'm like, hold on. So I clicked on your highlights. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, Courtney done messed around and got a bag. You done
Yeah.
messed around, and all of a sudden, you crossing, you jaying, you pulling up, you talking while you giving them buckets, which
Yeah.
you never gonna stop doing. You always talk. And I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, like, when did this happen? I hit Sherm up. He was like, yeah, man, he's been working. I'm mad because I mean, I'm impressed. This is not to mock you. I'm
Mhm.
actually impressed because number one, you had Nova, so I'm thinking, okay, is it the competition? No, I'm looking. Then I'm like, okay, it's not even about that. I'm actually looking at the skill set you have. And it's
Yeah.
so amazing to see you come and evolve and bet on yourself and work in your game. And you always have been a dog defensively, physical, aggressive, know how to play on ball defense. You're a great on ball defender. You know how to play help D. You also know how to just really play that mind game with your opponents. But now you added offense.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna ask you a question I asked you a few minutes ago when you were talking about your time at Patriot in Gainesville Middle, being around Trey and them. Did you finally wake up one day and was you like, okay, now I'm going to add offense to my game?
It was really just that whole summer I was hooping and my confidence just shot through the roof. So, and then not having no distractions and finally letting go of what was holding me back. Well, I wouldn't say hold me back, but finally letting go of something that was distracting me and keeping me away from basketball like I should have been the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to like actually like focus, have a free mind while I was playing. So like that's when all that shoot crossovers, pull ups, shooting threes better, getting to the rim, scoring a lot of points, going 16 to 7 or 16 or 17 from the free throw line. Like that's when all that came in. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, man, it came in well. I mean, I'm just happy for you, man. So just a few more questions, man. Like you and I see each other around the way because we're in the same community, man. You know, when you're not working out and hanging with your peoples. Um, you locked in and you got schools calling you. You're going on visits. I'm keeping up because your dad's posting. I even shared some stuff in the Prince William County group Facebook page. I'm
Yeah.
excited. And you told me, yo, I'm gonna commit soon. I'm like, all right, bet. And then you commit. Why did you commit to the school you did? And tell us about the school and what was that? Because you had offers, you had
Yeah.
options. What made you
Yeah.
choose them? They up in Pennsylvania. What made you choose them?
Uh it was just when I went there on my visit, me and my dad was already talking, like it felt like home. And then
Mm-hmm.
by the way coach was talking about it, like obviously, during the recruiting process, it's uh like a regular basis, the assistant coach will hit you up first before the head coach, and you'll talk to the assistant. This time, even on the visit, the head coach is like, I saw this kid and I was like, gotta get on him quick. So during that time, head coach hit me up, and then we had a call that night. We had like an hour conversation, and he was telling me like what I can do for the program, how he sees me that I can fit in, and it's everything that he liked about me, everything I need to work on. And just since then, it just felt like a good bond with the coaches, and that's a big thing for me because Shenandoah, I had a good bond with the head or the assistant coach, but not really with the head coach. So I took time in making my decision this time because I could have easily just said, "Oh, I want to commit right after my visit," but I was like, "Nah, let me take a little time. Let me take my other visits." But nah, Coach Best and Coach Miley, just great coaches. And then the athletic department, I don't know if my dad told you about it. It's like D1. Like it's a huge gym. It
Yeah,
got
it is. It
they
is.
yeah, they
Well,
got
what people, Courtney, I'm sorry to cut you off. You got me excited, but what people don't realize, and Isaiah was breaking this down to me, but I already done my research. People don't realize there's what you call high major D2,
yeah,
where Bloomsburg and Augusta recently this past season knocked off a D1. There was actually a
yeah,
couple of D2 schools that knocked off some D1s. And what people don't realize is they hear D2 and they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be good. But no, some of these D2s have great facilities, and some of these D2s are eventually going to move up to D1. It happens all the time.
yeah. Like one of
Um,
the teams in our conference, they Mercyhurst, they actually just moved up to D1. So
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
that's another part that played a role in my recruitment. Bloomsburg plays in like one of the best conferences in the Division II basketball in the PSAC. So I'm gonna be playing against guys like Trey Nelson. He just transferred to Clarion. Michael Cooper, he plays at Shepherd. That's another DMV guy that played at Woodbridge. And who else? We got Lou Triggs. He plays at IUP. So playing against all those guys and just knowing that it's going to be competitive. So
Yeah, and I got my headphones on tight, and I know I heard this correctly. Let me make sure I take my notes here. You said y'all gonna be playing against Trey Nelson. So that means I might get a Courtney Davis versus Trey Nelson matchup.
yeah, for sure.
Oh my God. Let me make sure. Let me make sure I get
Yeah,
ready because you guys are brothers and y'all work out together and y'all
yeah,
go to the open gyms and that's gonna be fun. And both y'all are highly competitive. But
yeah.
you
We've been
know,
working. We've been working this whole ever since Trey got back. We've been in the gym.
yeah.
So we just got
Yeah.
back. Patriot today. We won like 12 games in a row.
Oh,
So
really?
it's not just against the Patriot kids either. It's a bunch of college guys in there like Chase, all them guys. So
Yeah, well, I think that's another thing too. That's why I think that program is, I mean, Sherman's only been there 8 years, but it's crazy because that's why that program is continues to ascend because all his former players come back. And then he also has, I mean, it's other guys in there from other schools in Prince William and Fairfax, and
yeah,
you got other college guys there. Um, I love it, man. That's how it was for me and Sherm growing up. I'm from the 7-5, he's from up here, but it was like that across VA. Open gyms in the summer, you would see. I mean, sometimes you see NBA guys. I remember the open gyms I was at. You see, Chuck, aka Allen Iverson, and
yeah,
that's how you get better, man. That's great, man. I think Sherm might let me in there one day because he has a no parent rule, but I
yeah.
like what I think now that Isaiah's moving on, I can come in there and I just want to watch. I ain't gonna commentate. And I ain't gonna record. I miss that. That's a great thing.
Today was some good bumps. So
Yeah,
definitely a good bump. So
yeah, that's good, man. Are you gonna check out? I know the last couple of years, you and Trey and all y'all would go up there to Capitol Hoops.
yeah, we was just talking about that. They playing at the Method this weekend. So I'm gonna try to get
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah. That's good too. I'm gonna try to get up there too, man. That's really good. Well, listen, we're at the point of the show, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Mm,
Um, I want you to find in this show before I do my sign off with some perspective, some feedback, some words of wisdom. You don't have to get all philosophical or prophetic, but I want you to share with guys going through what you're going through, or even guys that are following your lead in regards to trying to play the next level.
yeah,
You never been afraid to bet on yourself. You have a unique journey, and I often say this player's path is his path. This player has a different path, but it doesn't mean y'all can't get to the same destination.
yeah,
But it's not going to be the same route. It's not going to be the same way. Um, some guys are going to have to prep. Some guys may have to sit out. Some guys are going to have to go to a school they may not want to, then transfer later. Some guys may realize the school they thought was the school of their dreams is not. A coach may leave. You seem to have been through it all in such a short amount of time, but
yeah,
yet you're playing at a high major D2. And the truth of the matter is that there's whispers that you could even get to a higher level.
yeah,
But at the same time, you're not focused on that. But I'm putting it out there because that's the reality of basketball. Um, what would you tell the kids? You talk about Patriot and other kids around here in Gainesville and Woodbridge and Manassas, because they're looking up to you. They know who you are.
yeah.
And they're going to see this when I post this. What
Mm,
do you tell them? And even to parents, what can they do when they deal with adversity like you have? With people, making it extra with chance and taunts, or you might not play like you thought, to your junior year. You might have to be patient. You and your family, your mom and dad, shout out to your parents. You guys have stayed tight knit and
yeah,
stayed the course and never made excuses, never blamed anybody, never clapped back in regards to, getting online. And yet you've been rewarded.
yeah. That's another
Um,
thing I wanted to mention. I forgot to mention. That's another thing that Coach Best and Coach Smiley they loved about me is how close I am with my parents, how respectful I am. So that was another big reason they knew I wasn't going to give them no problems. And when I get there, it's straight work and straight school and basketball, and that's like
yeah. So What do you say to players that want to get to the next level and they got to deal with stuff? Because some kids will say, I want to do it, and they get
Yeah.
adversity, and they're like, man, I can't do it, man. I'm quitting, or man, I ain't trying to deal with all that. How do you help them stay locked in?
I mean, number one, I just say believe in God. 'Cause like you said, facing criticism is not easy. Like you're gonna have. I personally had a bunch of times where I just start. It was just not for me. I was gonna give up. And another thing I just say is like staying humble, keep working, and just like learning how to face adversity. Because that's another thing that Coach Rivers was good at, like preaching to us is facing adversity. Because nobody believed that we was gonna go 26-0 our senior year. Nobody believed that I was gonna go D2. Nobody believed I was going to go on scholarship. Like you just gotta face adversity and prove everybody wrong, and not by just saying it. That saying that you're going to do it, just do it, and people are going. The critics going to silence themselves. So
I love it. I love it, man. And I appreciate you jumping on, and that's all real. That's
yeah,
that's that's knowledge, and that's the truth, man. I'm glad you were able to say that, and I'm glad you were able to continue your career, man. You got a fan in the Vick family. You already know that, man. Again,
yeah,
shout out to your parents. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Courtney Davis, headed to Bloomsburg University this fall, or probably late summer.
yeah.
We will be watching not just that matchup against your homie and brother Trey, but also a lot of your games. Man, just stay locked in. We appreciate you, man, and
I got you.
make sure you post that schedule, and make
Uh,
sure you keep passing on those words of wisdom to these youngins, because
Not for sure.
it's impactful when it comes from you. It's important when it comes from you. They
Yes, sir.
listen to us, but you're going through it. I ain't played it since the 90s. So
Nah, I got you.
so
Nah,
anyway, man,
always listen. So
no, I appreciate you, man. And to everybody else, before we sign off, man, make sure you support young men like Courtney Davis and those guys and women as well that are out here playing sports and also giving back to the community. And make sure no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you leave a positive impact and a great legacy. And make sure you subscribe to our channel, share, like, and support the Vicktory Life movement. I'm Dwight Vick, owner and founder of Vicktory Life. This is Courtney Davis, Bloomsburg University basketball player. We are out. Thank you so much, Courtney.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.